If you work long enough and hard enough, you'll eventually work with your mentors. My God, that's Lehr. He makes $1 million a year. That's unbelievable. I'd be so nervous to go talk to him. That model is in the process of dying. So you think you're solving a problem when you're actually creating more problems.
Because if you're adaptive, you're going to thrive. If you're not, you're going to be in the ice with the rest of the dinosaurs.
I think a lot of people imagine they're just lucky. The vast majority who sit on panels who run teams, they don't make that much money. Everybody looks at gross, we clap them on the back, nobody looks at net. What caused you to say, hey, I want to make sure this is profitable? So I legitimately remember coming to events like this and seeing these two in the crowd, okay? And I would be like, oh my God, that's Lehr. Same thing with Jeffrey. You see Jeffrey in like the elevator, be like, oh, it's Jeffrey Quintin. And now I have the amazing, wonderful good fortune to be partnered with these two individuals and building something together. So it's true, if you work long enough and hard enough, you'll eventually work with your mentors. And the reason why I wanted to have them on stage is because you guys have done something pretty unique. It's not uncommon that people start to think, oh, I need some leverage. I need to build louder? Team. Now, the thing that we forget is that the purpose of a team is for it to be profitable. Yes? And the way that the old kind of commonly held version of a team is somebody buys ads online and gives them to agents. Yes? Well, I would propose that that model is in the process of dying. And the reason why it's in the process of dying is because the cost of sale has gone up dramatically. And in order to make any money doing that, you have to get into ancillary services, mortgage, title, escrow. So you think you're solving a problem when you're actually creating more problems. And you have to get enormous and do it at scale for it to be profitable. These two guys have been running profitable teams for a very long time.
Yeah, so been in the business since 1992. My team and I have sold over 5,000 homes, over $1 billion in sales in volume. On average, we'll sell 100 to 150, depends on the year. We've done as much as 350 units. I've done as much as 150 million, but last year we were just about 80 million and 100 units.
That's wonderful. Hey, don't they look cute on the couch together, side by side? Love that.
Well, I've been doing it so long that this is my 42nd year of selling. So I started when I was literally 19. And part of the fun of it is I've had a career of that long, but I've had basically 8 5-year careers. So what I've done is broken my business down because it's been so many iterations, because there's so many economies, and you can't go out there and think like, oh, I'm going to build this business. Because right as soon as you get it perfect, somebody copies it, steals it, technology changes. So you got to be able to change with it. So the game here is, are you adaptive? The key to exploration is not going new places. It's seeing with new eyes. So always bring new eyes. Like I say, when I walk in a room like this, I'm a white belt. I come in, all you guys are black belts. I can't wait to learn new moves, because somebody in this audience is going to kick my ass if I think I've got it figured out. So the game is never think you got it figured out. But candidly, over 3,000 transactions. I've done, I'm in the land of the billionaires. So the beauty of that is it's a great market. Our average price point is $2 million. The problem with that is any idiot can sell one home and stay in business. So it really dilutes the market. It's a blessing and a curse. So you always have to remember wherever you are.
You've run very successful teams for an extended period of time, and kind of differently, because Alex, you have a unique position where the majority of your team members, if I understand correctly, are family members. And that's pretty interesting. And we'll talk about that. Yeah. But you both started off as individual prospecting-based agents.
Well, when I started out, I was 19 years old, and
cute little baby face back.
This is my dad. So 1992, 19 years old. I didn't have a big database by anything, right? I didn't have a center of influence. The center of influence I had was the kids that I went to high school with. So I had to figure out, like, where am I going to get my business from? So at an early age, my center of influence basically became my yearbook. So think about it, high school yearbook. I went through there and said, here are all the kids I know, but whose of these kids' parents do I know? That became the ones I'd call upon. So I'd prospect them. Right? Hey, I'm in the business now, and you may remember me. I know your daughter, your son, whatever. Went to high school together. You ever thought about buying and selling? But from day one, I had to understand there's 2 ways to get business. One, obviously I can go out and get it, or 2, I can wait for it. No one was calling me. I didn't have a huge budget to go ahead and buy and purchase leads. So I had to figure out early in the game who to call, what to say, how to say it, become really good at scripts and understanding dialogue and basically the sales process. So, in the beginning, I started as a basic prospector, understand how to go get it. On the phone, calling mostly expired listings for sale by owners, just listed, just sold calls, that little center of influence from a yearbook. We didn't really have, when talking about just listed, just sold, we didn't have the internet or ways to go get phone numbers.
He sold real estate before the internet, guys. You know what I mean?
Reality, we did. And that's how we did it. I mean, fax machines and everything else. There was no email. There was times that we would dial my prefix, right? Or my area code 609, the prefix 399. And we would just go 399-1000, 399-1001 and dial that number. That was cold calling. Whoever answered the phone, we'd have a script for it. That was my own multi-line dialer of just random numbers. From day one, I had to learn, understand how to go out and get the business and be a little more proactive than just reactive and understanding what to say and how to say it over the phone.
And how did that help you in constructing a profitable real estate team?
Well, it became profitable because, I wasn't paying for leads. Everything I generated on my own. And then so the ability to understand the data or understand who I was going to call, what to say became predictable, duplicatable, understand that I could say this script and understand I know what they're going to say back to me. I can almost predict what's coming back, and then I can lead it down to an appointment. And I got so good at prospecting, it was every 8 contacts I made, I got to a listing appointment. So I can almost predict each day of getting at least 1 to 2 appointments a day just from prospecting. And then so understanding I wasn't paying for leads, I was just generating them on my own. And then our average sales price in our marketplace rose and so forth. And then it just became more profitable because I didn't have a lot of expenses.
Whenever you do something, you discover the whole process of real estate is you really discover who you are. And in the beginning, there was a gal that said, when I started, I went from delivering pizzas to selling real estate. It was a perfect transition. Amazing. I knew all the streets and what they liked on their pizza. So at the end of it, there was a gal in the area that had trained all the coolest brokers and everybody that you looked at iconically. And she came to me one day when I was 18 or 19 starting out. And she says, remember this, for every door there is a bell, the more you ring, the more you sell. Go out and start knocking on doors. You need to go out and understand people. So I spent 5 years knocking on doors. And my buddies would be down at the beach and everything else. I'm like, no way, man, I can't. And it was like, I had a vision of where I wanted to be. But what it taught me was that I had the capacity to survive because I could eat what I kill. Everybody else was waiting for an open house or floor time back then. And remember, I was doing this before there were computers. We used to get phone books with all the listings every bi-weekly. So I had to literally figure out, okay, I got to go out and find people. And that was it. So it taught me the ability that I knew how to hunt. I didn't care what the market was. And when I started, rates were 14%. When they dropped to 9, I was like, dude, this is single digits. Can you imagine? So when people are starting now telling me about 6%, I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And what I think is so interesting about what you're both saying, what I'm deducing and taking from it, is that by learning that skill, you were able to transfer that skill to the team. Because here's the deal, guys. I've said this previous times, multiple times. You can either survive in the jungle or you can live in the zoo. How do you take an animal that's dangerous, wild, and free and convince it to live in the zoo? You feed it. So what you guys did is you learned how to survive in the jungle. And animals in the jungle are wild, dangerous, and free, and they have a specific skill set that allows them to survive in the jungle. Does that make sense? Now, what caused you guys to say like, hey, you know what? Now that I'm highly productive, it's profitable. Now it's time for me to add the leverage of labor, but also keeping in mind this has to make financial sense, because what you guys don't recognize on real estate panels across the country, the vast majority who sit on panels who run teams, they don't make that much money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everybody looks at gross. We clap them on the back. Nobody looks at net. Like, what caused you to say, hey, let me start to create that leverage? And also with the kind of mindset and mind frame, you're like, hey, I'm not doing this just to sit on panels and say I sell a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
I want to make sure this is profitable. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Well, the thing about it is when you're looking at it, again, back to iterations, I went from door knocking, which was sweat equity. I had no money. So I had to figure out how to build money. And then from there, I had to go to check equity, was like where now I could start spending some money to create more cash flow or more inflow. And as a result, that was mailing. At that time, it was mailing. And then from there, I built a call center. Jeff's been to my call center. I had 13 people calling. If you were
When did you do that? How long ago?
That was right before, that was 98-ish to when the real estate market crashed.
Hey, just so everybody knows, like you're like, yeah, I have VAs. It's not a new thing. Okay. He was doing it in the 90s call centers. Do you understand?
Full call center, stand up, you're a minute late, you eat cat food, the whole bit. I mean, true story. It was, yeah, we had the whole deal going and it was amazing. And everybody was disciplined because I always said, I don't want to run an army. I want to run a SEAL team. I want a small squad that's highly efficient, highly maneuverable, because when the market shifts, I can't be trying to move a mass of people. I've got to be able to pivot quickly. So that's what we did. We ran that, and back to profit. I was watching our numbers and I go, oh my God, look at this. Our call ratios are dropping. They're dropping down because I was door knocking and I thought, I had a real good skill set and I was very profitable. Then I got to the point where I said, well, if I can leverage this with calling, I can get more profitable. Guess what happened? Cell phones. All of a sudden people start saying they're disconnecting their home phones. Now I'm watching our outbound call numbers.
And everybody keep this in mind, okay? Because remember how we said, wouldn't we love to live in a world where I get good at one thing and I never have to change? Yes? So here he is crushing it. Probably promptly thinking that he's the man because he used to deliver pizzas, making way more money he thought was ever possible.
Oh.
It's cranking and cell phones come out.
Yep. Killed that market. Now I'm like, oh man. Then the economic meltdown hit at the same time. Now I'm like, okay, we got to double pivot. We start going, okay, we're in a mastermind. We're like, okay, where's the next market? We said, let's get on a plane and start figuring out who has all the REOs in the nation in our marketplaces. We combined forces and went out and became REO agents. I was selling 220 homes a year doing REO within the first year of REO hitting. So it had to develop there. Then all of a sudden, that was going for about 3-4 years. Then we had to pivot out of that because the market started coming back. My title officer goes, you're shooting a lot of rabbits when all these elephants over here are being killed. And I was like, huh? I was so busy in the trenches, I wasn't watching that regular deals were back. And then when one of my clients came to me and said, yeah, I was going to list my $2 million house with you, but I thought you were too busy with these REOs. 90 days later, I told my team we're pivoting, shutting down. And I then, just as back to efficiencies and models, at that point, I go, wait a minute, we want to pivot again away from REO. Okay, if we're going to go back into the conventional market, we need to get back out there and knock on doors and prospecting and all the rest. So I sent my guys into Palo Alto, which is an expensive marketplace. But I go, okay, if they're $2 and $3 million houses, now the houses are bigger. So their efficiency in door knocking is going to drop. So I went out and bought Segways to accelerate the efficiency.
I love this guy, bro.
In houses. And we started crushing. And then from there, now I've gone on and back to profitability. We hired print teams. I said, well, if that costs that much, so I built a full print shop at our office. We own a full print company. We manage all our printing, our outbound press. We manage all our collateral. We manage everything because, again, it's efficiencies. Remember, you can increase your business 20% by increasing 10 areas 2%. You don't have to take on one area, but there's a lot of little details, but that's part of running a business and really running it like a business. So
that's exactly right. And what I love about that is I think a lot of people imagine, whether we say it out loud or not, that people who produce really favorable outcomes, they're just lucky. Yeah. It's just luck, man. I don't know. He's a good looking dude. Like he's just luck. Yeah. Does that sound like luck, what he's describing? You know how much courage it took to sit in front of his team? Bro, most of you guys won't spend $300. You'll shop for an hour on Amazon to save $100. For him to shut down 200 deals a year takes a tremendous amount of courage. If you're taking notes, write this down. It doesn't take money to make money. It takes courage to make money. Buying Segways, even though everybody's going to laugh at you, be like, that's ridiculous and dumb. It takes courage to do that. Do you understand?
remember this, luck is an acronym. Labor under correct knowledge. I'm not kidding. The reason I'm here is because there's a lot of incredible knowledge in this room, and you got one person that's leading us to it. And I'm telling you, I'm here because, again, keep working, but the knowledge is going to keep changing. So keep absorbing it and then keep applying it. Jeff Quintin's one of my buddies. He's the fastest guy I know that takes something and implements it. I sit in awe of him every time because I'm like, how the hell did you already have that done?
Do you know what the kind of currency in our industry is? Attention. It's emotional reward. Most of you guys stay at the companies you're at because they give you stupid pieces of paper that say top producer or a piece of plastic. I grossed $1 million in a calendar year at a company. You know what they gave me? A piece of plastic. I remember being on a call with a group like this group, Lions, right? And somebody asked the group, Neil, you guys know Neil. And Neil was like, hey, why do you guys do this? And they gave all these, well, you know, I just love homes. And I love people. And I'm like, bro, you haven't met enough people. That's disgusting. Yeah? Neil spoke up. Neil's the richest guy on the call, worth 30 million bucks. He's just a real estate agent. He's like, this is fascinating to me. I do this for one reason, because it pays exceptionally well. And I think for some reason, like, we're afraid to say that. You shouldn't be, because if you are, you're in the wrong room. There's nothing wrong. Money's good for the good that it can do. Okay? Nothing wrong with making money. So as you went down this path with a team, Jeff, what did you do? Because you've done something really well in terms of like engineering. You understand the economic model probably better than most people. And whenever people have questions for me at the economic model, I'm like, call Jeff.
Well, I think that, at first I didn't get it, right? Because I ran a solo agent and started building a team. And the very first hire was an executive assistant. So I had to afford to do that. And then I was always a listing agent. And once I started listing and selling a lot of properties at high volume, then I would get buyer leads from that. So I then had to have a buyer's agent. And then so that just started building from there as far as the structure and the organization. But ultimately, like any business, you have to start with profit first. And you understand, okay, well, what do I want to make out of this business, out of this team? What is going to pay my bills? What's going to fund my lifestyle? So you have to start there. So for example, if it's $1 million net, let's just call it round numbers. I want to net $1 million. Okay, well, I'm going to start there first and understand, okay, on top of that, what do I need to bring in? What's going to be the top level, what top line gross income to get to a net $1 million? So you kind of reverse engineer it, but start with profit first. So everybody here, you're all a lot of times grinding away, you're making good money and the top line. But at the end of the day, are you very clear on what your net is going to be? Start out with what your net is going to be first, and then reverse engineer and add on top. So let's say it's $1 million. Okay, well, if it's $1 million, how many homes do I need to sell to earn $1 million net, right? And then I would need to say, okay, well, what's my business expenses look like? I need to know my monthly expenses. You got to run a P&L. You really have to look at it. And so if I have, several staff and marketing and all this going on, let's say it's 50 grand a month, that's 600 grand a year. Well, that's my expenses. Well, no, I need to make $1 million. Well, now I got to make $1.6 million because of my expenses. Well, now if I'm going to generate leads and I have salespeople and I'm going to have cost of sale, which is the splits on my deals, well, how much is each one of them going to earn? Okay. I need to figure that out. And then it starts the top line. Top line is going to be 3 million. I'm going to pay out $1 million and let's say $1.5 million in commissions, right? It's a 50-50 split from the gross. I'm going to have $500,000 in expenses. I'm going to net $1 million.
Yeah, I love that. And by the way, I love the numbers he's talking. Anybody love the numbers he's talking? Now, is anybody, truthfully, be honest, raise your hand, a little intimidated by those numbers? Raise your hand. It's okay. It's normal.
But it's a very simple thing. So let's just say that was the $1 million number, right? As a net figure. And I just gave you the model. 3 million gross, 50-50 split on deals. It's $1.5 million out the window to agents, $500,000 in operating expenses, net me $1 million. Now I say, okay, well, what's my average sales price in my market? Well, my average sales price in my market, let's say, is 500,000 at 3%, is 15 grand. How many homes do I need to sell to get to 3 million? 15 grand times 200 units gets me 3 million. Now I have 200 sales I got to create, which is going to be 18 or 17 per month or whatever that number is. I need to now build a business plan around that. How many listing appointments need to go on at what ratio? I got to go on X number of, if it's 200 units a year, just call it 17 a month. What percentage is that buyers versus sellers? How many appointments, conversion ratio, listings taken, listings sold, and do that same thing on the buy side. So there's a model for this, right? And I'm going very quickly.
No, you know what I love about this? You know what most of you guys do? You're like, I think I'm going to join it. I think I'm going to create a team. Do you see how that's a little bit different than what he's doing? You guys are thinking like a salesperson. He thinks like a business person. Exactly. Bang, 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 right? Now, the thing that I want you to be clear on too, I used to sit in rooms with these guys and hear them talk these numbers, and it was outrageous to me. Because my family of origin, kind, loving people, my dad's a furniture repairman, he has been since I've known him. Between the two of them, they've never made more than $60,000 a year. And I would hear these numbers and be like, what in the world are you talking about? But I promise you, here's the interesting thing. You know that saying that says like, if you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And like you are, the culmination of your 5 friends. I think they get that backwards. I think your 5 closest people that you spend time with are a reflection of the way you see yourself. Yes? Good. So I wanted to be around these guys so they can change my mental maps about what's a lot. You know what I thought was a lot when I joined? Like when I first started selling real estate, my broker sat me down. He said, well, son, how much money do you want to make? I hemmed and hawed for at least 10 minutes. Uncomfortable. Biggest number I could think of was 50 grand. You know why? That's what my dad made. I was like, bro, if I can make 50 grand a year, I'm in tall cotton. Like, I'm doing well. And then I'm hanging around these guys and I'm like, dude, like, if I make 50 grand in a month, that's not a good month. Yeah? So it's important to continue to be in these rooms so you can expand your thinking. If you're taking notes, write this down. Getting wealthy is not physical, it's mental. You can only behave in accordance with the way you see yourself.
The amount of income that you're earning is the amount of your expenses or your lifestyle is, right? You're not
To the penny.
Right. So I make 100 grand, but you spend 100 grand. End of the day, at the end of the year, I have nothing to show.
Alex, you've done something I think incredibly unique and that I have a tremendous amount of respect for you for, is that you have figured out a way to include, I think, the majority of your family in the business. Now, I know that whenever there's more than 2 people in a room, it's a crowd. Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about how you kind of like how that vision of like legacy and like, hey, I want to share this with my family, and then how you got them to decide they wanted to do it. Because I think what's true is there's some of us in this room who have children and they think they're going to do all these things. And then they realize after they get out of college that they get a job making $50,000 a year and have to move back in with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they start to see dad making 50 grand a pop. And they're like, what are you doing? So talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's interesting. By the way, when I started at 20, I was door knocking at 20. And guess what? I was door knocking and met my wife. Met her door knocking at the age of 20.
Did you really?
True story.
Hey, prospecting works.
True story.
It's the old Tinder.
Yeah, exactly. The old Tinder. I was like, hey, I'm in real estate and this is a lot. Oh, yeah.
That's right, baby. Let's go.
Both of us came from alcoholic dads, both my wife and I. So we had great childhoods. Obviously the curses are a blessing if you look for them. So we said, okay, when we decided we were going to get married, so we were 25 when we got married, and we said, so how do we keep the wheels on this bus? Because, I say this playfully, but I go, look, if you knew an Uber was going to crash 50% of the time, would you get in it? No. Would you get on an airplane if you knew half the time it's going to crash? But yet we jump into marriage going, oh yeah, we'll be fine. Half of them are failing right now. So if you don't take the time to figure it out, you're going to build all these empires in real estate and everything else. 15, 20 years down the road, it's gone. You split it up. And I'm like, well, that was kind of a waste. Why not throttle that goal back a little bit and make sure you've got a lockdown at home? So that's what my wife and I decided to do, because that is the core reactor that powers everything. So what we did was with our kids, and we literally wrote a book about it. We've been interviewed about it. If you go on Tony Robbins' Business Mastery, they sent out a film crew to spend time with us because they're like, this has to be bullshit. There's no way four kids plus your son-in-law and your daughter-in-law work with you and your wife. There's no way this works. And so they tested it. And basically what it comes down to is this. Years ago, there were families that they were called the Coopers, right? If you heard a last name called Cooper, that meant they were barrel makers. So there was a lineage of barrel makers because that's what they did. So in our house, my wife, this is her genius idea. She says, look, every kid gets a driver's license at 16. At 18, you get your real estate license. There's no discussion.
You just do it.
You just do it, because when we die, you're going to own a lot of real estate. And if you're the only kid in the room that didn't have it, you're the idiot. So you're all going to have your real estate license. As soon as they could drive, our sons were driving our dump trucks and cleaning out crack houses. And they're like, dude, there's syringes. I go, Darwin kills the dumb ones. Don't step on one. Right? Your survival is up to you. It's not up to me. So basically, we got them enrolled in the business, and our daughters, my daughter, both of them could run the business. If I fall over dead, they could run the business from the back room to the front better than I can. And so the reality is where it's like a gym. You don't walk in and throw them into it, but we got them lifting small weights initially. Our crew is basically my two son-in-laws, my two sons, my son-in-law, and my youngest daughter is out selling. So basically we recruit through my wife's womb. Thank you very much. So at the end of the day, what happens though is last year, my son-in-law, who's 33, and my son, who's 31, both of them made over $1 million last year.
Bang, bang.
And if you don't know, that's when you sit back and you go, remember, because we're building a legacy business with the immigrant work ethic. That is what we're building. We're building dynasty wealth. This isn't about me. I could stop tomorrow. This is a game I'm playing for 2 generations. There's a great rule. There's a saying that says, your children are a message to a future you'll never see. Think about that for a second. Your children are a message to a future that you'll never see. So, because again, how we raise them and who we bring into this planet, who we leave behind when we're gone. So I want to make sure that we leave some real pillars here. So that was all the premise and the foundation of how we built them. And Jeff knows 1,000 stories of all kinds of screwy stuff, but that's how we built the muscle of them getting into real estate. And by the time they started like I did, I said, look at man, you guys, you can tell me, my goal is within 2 years of working for me, you can tell me to go F myself because you'll have a master's in communication because you'll knocked on so many doors and you'll have a master's in reading human psychology and also physiology. We do rapid testing. We do a whole lot of things so they can read body language faster than anybody. Have them read books on how people select juries and psychology. You'd be amazed at all the symbols, embolic congruence. I could go down more rabbit holes, but the game is help build them to where they can survive without you. My job is to be useless in my kids' lives. If I'm needed, I screwed up.
There's a saying that says like leadership is really about at its foundational level, planting a tree that the leader will never receive shade from. Mm-hmm. And it gave me chills. And it gave me chills like hearing you talk about it, because in the Bible, it says a good man will leave an inheritance to his children's children. So wrapping up, you guys are powerhouses doing awesome stuff, really at the highest level of this game for an extended period of time. And both of you recently decided to switch vehicles and to partner with us at EXP. So I guess I'm curious, and we'll go each one. First with you, Jeff. What caused you to reach out to me a year ago and be like, hey, what's this EXP thing? And like, what's it all about? And how did you view it as being good for your team?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I guess 2 things. One is, 30 years plus in the business, I've gained a lot of knowledge. And I was at a point where I was like, how can I really take this and put it on the right platform? How can I get paid for the knowledge I know? And very similar to what Aaron's been doing. This is what he's doing, right? But the way of which obviously is giving back to the community, giving back to real estate agency knows, and then being able to build an organization. I was like, this is pretty interesting. And where the current brokerage I was at before, I liked a lot and still do and respect them. And it's a good model, but not the same
They're
model.
All right.
At some point, I like to have a little more flexibility, time and location freedom. And how can I replace my possible sales business income through the knowledge I know? I saw Aaron doing that, reached out to Aaron, and he kind of gave me the blueprint of what he's doing, how it works. And then obviously the model with EXP is it's a lot less cost to operate, a lot less friction. And at the same time, also being able to offer all this knowledge back to my team and create the same opportunities that I'm able to create also for them. This is where we are now, a year later.
We used to sit in rooms and mastermind with each other about our businesses. Yes? Like, hey, you're doing this thing and I do this thing. Now you know what happens? Legitimately, these guys are mentors to me and we build something together. That's unbelievable. So what caused you, Alex, to be even receptive to his call and to be like, you know what? Maybe I should look at this more closely.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll be candid with you. I was sold on EXP in 2019. And what happened was I met with all the owners, met with everybody, met with Gary Keller, met with a bunch of different people and looked at all the different models. And I go, this EXP model makes so much sense to me, but the branding wasn't going to work for me. I didn't, for us personally, it's just because we were a boutique brokerage and it just wasn't going to work. So subsequently, I thought it was a lights out deal because I've spent a lot of time. I've spent over $1 million in seminars, truly, just learning and gathering information and always trying to see over the horizon a little bit. And Tony Robbins, one of the things he talks about financially is you should have 12 pillars of financial stability under your stool. And the nice part about the EXP model was that the reason I never built a big team personally was you build this great team, you get them all firing before you know it. They're like, dude, I got this wired. I don't need you. I'm out. And they're tapped out. All your information and all your energy just went out the door without anybody. And there's no way to I wish them well, give them a kiss on the forehead like the Godfather. Well, someday you might catch a bullet, but but at the end of it, I wanted to wish them well and know that we still could keep growing together. And that's what this model brought to me. But so when I came back around, when Jeff called me, and we know Leo, we had worked with Leo, the CEO, and when it came down to character, I know him at a level of character where I'd seen him in situations where when we were doing REO and we're having to do all the whining and dining, and the guy he knows his north. He knows his north at a level that I respected as a man. Then subsequently I said, no, it's time. And then Leo called and said, hey, if you want to come on board, you can white label, and allowed me to maintain back to story branding. The book Story Branding. It was, my company became Guide Real Estate because we've been guiding families for so long, and I didn't want to lose that. And we were with a company called Side that came in with all the, hey, this is great. Oh, this is going to be the most amazing thing. And then it turned into a bait and switch. So when Jeff called, and then collaboratively, I said, you know what, we can build something. Because at this chapter of life, I'm not out to just be transactional. I want to build a wisdom base and watch other people thrive. That's really my bigger overarching objective, is to see an industry that doesn't die. Because again, there's so many pressures on the industry, but the one thing nobody can take is the human connection. And I'll finish with this. There's a great book everybody should read, and it's called Made in America. And it's Sam Walton, who started Walmart. And that book saves me every time there's a big shift, because Sam talked about when this Walmart would come into these little towns, everybody would freak out like, oh my God, the industry's changing. Something's going on. We're going to lose it. Well, what Sam said, if people were smart, they would have understand the bigger the companies are, the bigger the gaps, because they don't fit together like a puzzle. And that's where the most profit is, in the smaller pieces. So that's why we remained highly nimble. And so when big changes come along, I go, oh, this is just more opportunity for us. This is now a bigger trough for us to feed from. And so that's the mindset that goes out of it. But it's a good book just in general. So
I want to say thank you, both of you, for taking the time to be with us and share your wisdom. I also want to say thank you for your trust, right? Because I'm aware you guys had really awesome things going on, and you decided to partner with us. And I'm so pleased, privileged, and proud to be in business with both of you. So let's give both of these gentlemen a huge round of applause.
Thank you.
When you die, who's going to show up? Everybody that you talk to in your circle right now, no matter where you are, man, you're doing amazing. Man, you're doing great. And you're like, not really. I had no money, but I did have this sponge where I was like, okay, who can I get around? And when you start getting around people who have more money, you realize pretty quick you need to pivot. I think it's proximity to people who are making money, who are thinking bigger, that we all should focus on in 2026.
I would rather own 1% of something that's enormous and great than 100% of something that's crap.